Hi everyone, this is Charlie Freak from FreakSense TV and welcome to my inaugural episode on People for People Radio and my new show, A FreakSense World, with your host, Charlie Freak.
And it is an absolute honor to be part of such a wonderful, wonderful array of fabulous presenters on People for People Radio. Including my great friend Santos Bonacci. And that's how all of this came about. Santos asked me to do a show as his guest on People for People Radio. And Gary, the wonderful Gary, who is one of the people in charge at People for People Radio, Gary said, hey, I really liked your thoughts and knowledge. So would you like to do a show? And I said, absolutely, that would be wonderful, because the more that we can get what is known as the real truth, which is holistic truth, to the masses, the better things are going to be. Because what we're dealing with, everyone, is a world that is divided, duality. So what exists today is two types of let's say, truth. And the one type of truth is virtually everywhere, and it's 99% of what you hear or see in virtually every medium. And that's called information. And that should be a red flag for you, for everyone, because what this is all about is the truth. And if it were the truth, that's what they would call it. For example, you have the news, and you've got the 6 o'clock news and then the 11 o'clock news, and they fill you in on the events of the day, locally and worldwide. Well, why do they call it the news instead of the daily truth? The reality is they're telling you in plain sight that what they share with us is not the truth, because if it were, that's what they would call it. What they give us is something called information, and information may very well indeed contain bits and pieces of the truth, but that doesn't make it the truth. The truth is holistic. The truth explains all things. The truth connects all dots. The truth is holistic in nature. And I was talking with Santos when he was visiting with us a couple of weeks ago here in Mexico. And we were talking about this. Santos agreed 100% completely, and that is this. What the world needs now more than love, sweet love, is truth. Because built into the truth is love. Because the truth contains everything in God's creation. So since this is my inaugural show on People for People Radio, and you may not know my YouTube channel, which is FreakSense TV, an amazing channel just filled with just loads and loads and loads of the absolute holistic truth. It's probably worthwhile to, before we dig into the basics of today's show, to give you a bit of an overview as to where myself and my beautiful wife, Kaliwag, where we stand on all things. So where we come from is that what is the most important thing is who we are and what our purpose in life is. And what our purpose in life is to know ourselves truly. And to be able to do that, we have to connect with the Creator. Now, we use the term God. You can use whatever term you wish. But if you're still of the belief system that there's just a random universe out there, and that all of this elegant design that exists in everything, including just a simple human cell, if you think that this everything that came from nothing suddenly is the work of a random occurrence, then truly you are lost. And I'm sorry to be the one to have to share that with you. The good news is that once you accept the reality that there is a creator, everything in your life is going to change and change for the better, because you are a connection to God, but you are an individual. You are a unique connection to God. Each one of us, every living sentient being possesses consciousness. Even a mango on a mango tree possesses consciousness. It's of God. Therefore, of God, how we stay connected to our one true Father is via consciousness. So all things possess consciousness, including a rock. A rock is alive. It doesn't appear to be alive. It doesn't appear that it would have consciousness. It does. It's just that the rock's vibration has coalesced at such a slow rate of vibration that it appears to our limited physical senses that it is an inanimate object, and they're not. So everything that God created to be connected to the Father possesses consciousness. So this is kind of like Truth and Life 101, and that's how we stay connected to the Father. Now, human beings are the highest form of God's creation. Now, that doesn't appear to be the truth when you look at how far we have fallen and what most of humanity in the form of organized society, cities, wherever society organizes itself and forces people to live at gunpoint with all of their rules that can't exist on the land. It's all a massive distraction. It's all a massive illusion. It is taking place, so therefore the Maya is real. But again, as Santos teaches, it's more of a disillusionment than an illusion, because everything within the Maya, which we are experiencing, is upside down. And that's what they've done to us. All of the truth in the world that exists through God has now been hidden from us. And everything that organized society speaks to us, teaches to us, tells to us is a lie. And again, this is Truth 101 Part 2, the second point that needs to be accepted. You must accept this point and move forward from here. That everything you have been taught via organized society, through schools, through largely probably your parents and siblings and friends, through entertainment, whether it be in the movies or radio or TV, whatever it is, anything that is coming or has come to us via organized society is a lie. And whenever possible, it is a 180-degree complete upside down lie, opposite from the truth. That's the reality that we live in. So this is the Maya. This physical plane, this physical realm is real, because this experience is very powerfully real, especially to our mind. So you can't say that it is a pure illusion. It's a delusion, and we have become deluded because 99.9% of us don't have knowingness. They possess a belief system. And when you possess a belief system, you're a slave, and you're a slave to whomever put that belief system that you cling to desperately within you. And that, again, is organized society. Now, point 3 to all of this is that what is organized society? And it's so very clear. They don't even really attempt to hide it. It's so obvious with the system of money. Money and property and ownership explains everything, because the few possess all and the many possess virtually none of it. And what we do is, because those who possess virtually all of it make up the rules. And the rules put us against one another, not them. So what we do is we fight amongst ourselves for the scraps that they leave behind, the pennies that are left dangling on street corners. And we scrapple with one another. We're at each other's throats. when they are free to walk to and from the bank and take out their fake money at any time that they wish. So again, another complete upside down delusion from the absolute truth, which is that nothing should cost money. There cannot be a system of money. There cannot be a system of ownership. You cannot own what you did not create, nor do you have an understanding of how it came into existence. So Mother Earth is beyond ownership. And when you look at all of the ancient cultures that came before us, that's why you did not have maps with all of these ridiculous borders, and you didn't have all of these detailed countries. You may have had areas, but today we live in a world where there's nothing more to see, nothing more to explore, nothing more to find. It's all been done. It's all there on a map. Look at the map, read it and weep and obey it. And everything has been gridlocked off. But when you get into an airplane and you gain some altitude, you gain some perspective. Instead of always being on the valley floor looking up and never knowing what's over the next ridge from you, because we have no perspective. When you get up in elevation, when you go up into the blue sky, up into the heavens, you begin to gather perspective, because suddenly we can see, and we can see with an aerial view. And what we notice is that there are no borders. What we notice is that there are no lines dividing Canada from the United States or Mexico from the United States. There are no borders. It's all a lie. And by the way, when you get up in an airplane, no matter how big, when we fly out of Mexico City, for example, it's staggering how big Mexico City is and how many people appear or seem to live there. But as soon as you get out of Mexico City, it's just empty space. Everywhere you look, it's empty space. But the message is there's too many people. The earth cannot sustain this many people. We're running out of everything because we have too many people. And what we need to do is downsize the population. Nope. Get in an airplane or grow some wings and fly yourself. And what you'll see everywhere you go is just vast, empty spaces, beautiful land that can be cultivated and produce endless amounts of abundance. So we exist in a reality that cannot be fully understood and cannot be owned. There is no ownership. And all of these ancient cultures that came before us never tried to claim ownership to anything, whether you talk to or speak to or look at the records of the Aboriginal cultures of Australia or the plains, natives of North or South or Central America. You look at all of these older ancient cultures, none of them claimed an ownership over the land. They understood that they were merely caretakers of the land. And obviously, when you transition, you can't take it with you. So there was no ownership. And then, of course, we have this unbelievable reality from approximately the 1600s onwards when a small group of white Europeans who left Europe and came and discovered, oh, thank you so much for discovering the Americas. Now, there's, 100 million people already here, far advanced of you in Europe, but thank you for discovering Columbus. Wow, what an amazing guy that you discovered the Americas and the 100 million people that were already here living and in advanced cultures that understood the metaphysical and the physical and tied them together as one. So everything is that we hold today is a complete lie, and ownership is at the center of this problem, because as soon as a small group of white people suddenly say that land can be owned and that possession is 9/10 of the law, then suddenly everything changed. If possession is 9/10 of the law, how the heck did all of these native cultures who were here first and possessed the land because they're there and using it and had a real claim because of all of the structures that they had created upon the land. How did they go overnight from being the wealthiest people in the history of the world by owning all of this land to evicted from the land? Because a small group of white men from Europe showed up with pieces of paper, and they said that these pieces of paper are legal and that suddenly we own this land, not you. And if you don't believe that this piece of paper is legal, you just need to understand behind that piece of paper is a cannon followed by a division of soldiers with guns. And they're there to remind you that the paper is legal. So again, suddenly, because land can be owned, it has a value. Once it has a value, it means that everybody who used to just put down roots wherever they wanted to, wherever they saw it was the best for them. The beautiful Dire Straits song, Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler is an absolute Gnostic genius, a true teacher of the great teachings of the Gnostics in the Essenes, those who truly wrote the Bible. Mark Knopfler, in his amazing song Telegraph Road, is telling you the true history of mankind and living, and where we live and how we live. So you put a sack over your back and you walk down the road till you find a place where it's just beautiful and perfect along the side of a river, and you lay down your roots. The problem is that some other travelers came down the road and they saw what you saw and they laid down some roots around you, which is great because now you have community, now you have friendship, now you have help, now you have support, you have real basis of individuals becoming families in small communities. But as Mark wrote in the song, then came the lawyers, and then came the rules, and then came the churches, and then came the schools, and then came the tax man. And suddenly what you thought you owned, you now own in relation to what this small group of hidden people who make all the rules behind the scenes and who now own all the rest of the land. You own it under their description of what you're allowed to own and what ownership means for us, the masses, where we have to pay taxes and where we have to get permission for everything. And that's it. So we were free to go anywhere we want and lay down our roots. And that's it, because everywhere in God's creation is the ability to grow life. That's what this beautiful green plain of Middle Earth, as Professor Tolkien wrote about in his world of Middle Earth and the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and the Hobbit. He's all writing about us. All of this is human history through fantastical stories, allegories, tales of hobbits and elves and Numenorians and all the rest. They all just relate to us. That's another podcast. But so we were free to put down roots anywhere, and we could be right next to a stream, so we have potable water and we've got arable land, and that's it. We grow and we harvest. So, we sow what we reap, and if we're good, righteous people, then we'll be sowing good, righteous crops. And that's how it works, until somebody came along and said, no, that's not how it works, and you have to pay for where you want to live. Now, folks, that is completely upside down. That is completely against the law. So if you owe any money to any bank, what you choose to do in our current reality of adhering to this contract that you have with them, just know that it's illegal. You don't owe anybody anything. I guarantee you. All of the laws that exist on the land come from the seas, and they're called the Admiralty laws. And these Admiralty laws are not real, and they're not possible, because the first thing that you learn when you read these ancient spiritual texts, such as the Bible is that you learn that the sea is unrulable. You cannot rule the sea. It is the wild, wild sea. It represents the wild, wild west, or the left hemisphere of our brain, and you cannot rule it. And that's why upon the high seas there were pirates taking their share of the wild sea. So there's no possible way to create laws for the sea. But this small group of people behind the scenes, whose merchant ships were being raided by the various pirates upon the high seas, didn't like that. So they created a complex set of laws to protect their ships. And what they called their ships were dry land upon the sea. So wherever their ships went, so went the earth. And that's where this narrative comes from, this ancient narrative of the ships being islands within the sea, because they want to take the laws of the land. And there are only 3 laws of the land, and essentially they work to just 2 laws. In Sanskrit, these 2 laws are known as satyagraha and ahimsa. Satyagraha is the search for truth as a way of life. That's who you are, that's what you live, and you're just seeking the truth from the moment you're born to the moment you continue, or the moment you choose to transition and do it all again. The second law of the land in Sanskrit is ahimsa, and ahimsa simply means cause no violence in any form or fashion to any sentient being. Any living being that has feelings, that has emotions, then you cause no harm. Now, beyond that, you're free to do whatever you want. Whatever your interpretation of the pursuit for truth is, you're completely free. That's the way we were made. That's the way all of this was meant to be free. And to be free, you go about what's inside of you, what you feel at your core, and that you're free to do so. All you need to observe is cause no harm in any shape or fashion to anyone else. Well, what these people did is they cared more for their possessions. They cared more for merchandise and material goods and the material plane instead of the metaphysical spiritual plane, that they created a host of rules and laws to protect their merchandise. And so instead of essentially the 2 or 3, the third law of the land, by the way, is that do not cause, as we talked about in ahimsa, do not cause harm to anyone or anyone else or their property. And if you do, in the third law, is just simply make restitution for it. Apologize and help repair the damage that you've caused. That's it. So those are the 3 laws of the land. Well, what they created is a slew, a literal landslide of laws to protect what they saw as value, which is hoarding God's creation. So hoarding mangoes and hoarding corn and hoarding wheat and hoarding coal and just hoarding everything. That's what they are. This small group of people are hoarders. They're small-minded, loveless people who hate, and they hate not to have. And so they hoard. Now, so the basis for, as we just discussed, for all of the laws that now exist on the land to govern all of this property that can be owned and has value, all came originally from protecting their islands at sea, their ships of merchandise, bringing back their hoards of these valuables, physical plane, material valuables that they stole from other cultures all across this vast free plain. So God's creation is abundance. God's creation is variety. God's creation is eternal, and it is perfect and it is beautiful. We create nothing. So if you think literally that there are inventors in human history, I'm sorry again to be the one to burst your bubble, but that simply isn't the case. We have had innovators. We have had people who have innovated what already exists. There's nothing new under the sun. God has already created everything for us. There have people that have come along and have said, this is interesting. Okay, this is electricity and it has this effect. But this is magnetism and it has this effect. And so what we can do is channel the electricity, and we can actually store the electricity for when you need it, AC, DC, Tesla, and we have the makings of energy on demand. But of course, because it's electrical based and it's temporal or temporary, it can be metered, monitored, it runs out, you need more, they can charge you for it. Magnetism, which is longitudinal or scalar waves, what some people call Tesla waves, are eternal waves. They do not dissipate in any way. And all you have to do is look at the path of the moon every single month, or the paths of the solar sun in the sky every single year. And what you'll see is that both the sun and the moon follow what are known as the scalar waves, or these longitudinal waves, which is the figure eight, the eternal eight, where there's no beginning and there's no end. And that's signifying that this is eternal, endless, no beginning, no end energy. And this is what some people refer to Tesla describing as 0 point energy. So we live in a magnetic electrical ether, and we can choose to harness what we wish. Temporal, temporary, transverse waves of electricity that run out. They're used up, they run out, you need more. Or you can use magnetism. Nobody seems to know much about magnetism, do they? They don't really teach it. There are no degrees really in magnetism. It's all an electrical-based culture, isn't it? All electrical-based universities, all electrical-based science, modern science. Wow, geniuses all. And we don't know much or anything about magnetism, except it's scalar waves, which are eternal. They do not dissipate. So that's where you get these free energy generators that you turn on and then they don't turn off, because all they're doing is they're pulling magnetism or scalar waves from the ether, and then they run eternally. That's not good for business. And of course, there should not be any business for God's creation, which is free, which is abundant. So all we ever do is innovate, and then we claim to have invented something. We create a patent for our invention, which we didn't invent anything. God has created all of it there for us. We may have combined various elements into compounds and we've created something new, but it's not new. It's just a variation of what already exists. And then we lay claim to it. How is that legal? Oh, because a small group of people who want to control you said that it's legal. And here's the basis, and I'm going to end this introduction to Charlie Freak and Collywog and FreakSense TV with this. Remember, the basis to capitalism and all these people who want to be rich and who want to own and who want to have things isn't so much about what they own, isn't so much about how much they have. It's about how little you have. Because at the end of the day, just remember this. The reason we have this sick reality, the reason why a few people are ruling the virtual many, is because there are a few people who don't want to fend for themselves. There are a few people who wish to have others cook their food, mow their grass, build their houses, wipe their bums. That's how it works. And the thing is, if we're all equal, if we're all equally accessing God's eternal, abundant creation on this vast, perfect green plane, then how do you convince somebody else to wipe your bum for you when you have no socioeconomic advantage over them? And the fact is, unless out of the kindness of their heart, if they felt sorry for you, the fact is probably you're not going to find anyone who will wipe your bum for you. However, if you make the vast majority dirt poor, and remember, if you live in the supposed first world and you're in Europe or North America and you've got these big houses that you don't own because you've got a big mortgage on them, and the bank says if you miss 2 payments or more in a row, it's ours once again. You don't own anything. You're a slave, and you're a debt slave, and therefore you have to work at a job. How can that be the purpose to life? How can that be the reason for God's creation, that we should be taken from our parents after 6 months and be placed into essentially, government or a fascist and fascism, which is not Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Germany. If you think that Hitler and the Germans were the bad guys in World War II, oops, sorry to be the one to have to burst that bubble for you as well, but it isn't true. Hitler was part of what's called the Aryans. And the Aryans are not some kind of genetic race, just as the Jews are not some kind of genetic race. The beginnings, the idea, the creation of a culture of people known as Jews came from the Bible. And the Bible makes it very, very clear that Jews are ones who seek for God inwardly. In other words, those who practice meditation, those who are spiritually minded, who access the metaphysical plane to manifest God in the physical plane. So that is a Jew. And the promised land of milk and honey is guaranteed to those who connect to and serve God's creation. And those are ones who go within. Those are ones who practice meditation. That's what a Jew is. What you see in the world now, and all these people who hate and hate and hate because everyone else is a goyim and everyone else is anti-Semitic, are the Semites. The Semites are the opposite of the Aryans, and neither are genetic beings. Semites are the Canaanites. Semites is not genetic, it's a choice. In the Bible, very quickly, all of it, of course, is just an allegory. These are dark sayings of old, fantastical teachings that we'll never, ever, ever forget, that hold the key lessons to all life within these fantastical stories. And in the Bible, in the beginning, in Genesis, you had Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are not two people. Adam and Eve is not a man and a woman walking around together in the true singular heaven of God's initial creation. Adam and Eve is simply an allegory for the human being, that we are 50% masculine and we are 50% feminine. And how we turn out at the end, being predominantly male because of our reproductive organs, or predominantly female, all happens very late in the process of us being born into this reality. So Adam and Eve is simply a metaphor for who we truly are, which is a temple of the body and the mind, and a perfect duality between the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Now, the first real creations of multiple people are the children of Adam and Eve, or when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, which is the singularity of God's creation heaven, and fell by tasting the wicked apple of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Again, allegory. And all that simply means is they took thought for themselves. Instead of taking no thought and simply existing in eternal bliss within God's creation, where God provides all, and all we have to do is simply enjoy what God has provided for us. A talking snake came along, and a talking snake convinced Adam and Eve that they could think for themselves. That's the great fall of man. And it all simply relates to the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of our brains. That's what the Bible's all about. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is all about. That's what the Quran is all about. That's what the Egyptian Book of the Dead is all about. All of these ancient spiritual texts, even the far Eastern philosophical teachings, are all teaching you about the dichotomy between the left brain and the right brain. The left brain are the Canaanites. The right brain are the enablers, or the children of Abel. So the children of Adam and Eve were Cain and Abel. Again, didn't happen. There wasn't an Adam and Eve, and there weren't two children, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are simply an allegory for the left hemisphere of the brain. Cain, that 10% dying brain where we think. We want control. We want power. We're into numbers. We have no imagination. We're just counting our riches in our physical temple, and everything for our physical temple we've stolen from others because we're more important, because we place a value, singular value on things instead of a holistic value of all life. And we want and we take because we're stronger. And this is just a metaphor for us and our left brain, the dime brain, the 10%. The left hemisphere of our brain is only capable of 10% of what the human brain is capable of. All the rest, that 90%, is in the right hemisphere of the brain. What is the right hemisphere of the brain? Love, is art, is seeing us as connected, seeing us as whole, seeing the individual as part of something bigger or greater than themselves. It's acceptance, it's care, compassion. It's the higher spiritual father. It is the beautiful Mother Earth, care and compassion. It's everything that is right. And that's why the goodly, godly hemisphere of our brain is to the right, because it's right. And to the left is wrong, because it's not right. And to the left are the Canaanites, the children of Cain, who committed murder, who murdered Abel because he was righteous. And instead of becoming righteous, no, the left brain, which is where the ego exists, and this is who told Cain what to do, was his ego, and the ego acts out, and the ego took life from Abel, the right brain, because the ego can't exist in the right brain. So the right brain has to die, and that's murder. And that was the first murder, which is killing our true essence, because who we truly are is in the right hemisphere of our brain. Who we aren't, who we look like all others, act like all others, sound like all others, where everything looks the same, that's the left brain. That's the melting pot. That's the hodgepodge of everybody giving up their freedom, true freedom, individuality, for the greater good, the greater good, the greater good, the basis to all modern civilization and organized society. We do everything for the greater good. The few that rule the many, they don't give a shit about you. They don't even give a shit about their own children. They don't give a shit about their little group either. They hate one another because they're Canaanites. They're left-brainers. They hate everything except themselves because they're not in charge. Their ego is in charge. The tapeworm that is inside of them is in charge, and it hates all things, including even other members of their little club. So even their little group, these Phoenicians, who were, again, just the Canaanites. Remember, when Cain murdered Abel, he was kicked out of the Holy Land, he was kicked out of the Promised Land, and he was cast east of Eden. Eden means east. What's east of east? West. And if you know the geography of the Holy Land, which is gorgeous beyond description, but we're not allowed to go there, and you wouldn't want to go there even if you could, because war in God's sacred hallowed land. Can't go there. War. But what exists, if you did know it geographically, what exists just over the beautiful rolling hills to the left or to the west of Israel, the Holy Land, is these slopes that lead down to the Mediterranean, extremely fertile, beautiful slopes of land that gently run to the Mediterranean. That's what has been known for a long while now as Phoenicia. And this is where the Phoenicians came to live. And the Phoenicians are the Canaanites. And this is not a genetic group of people. This is a group of people who choose to live in the left brain. And the left brain, even though it's only 10% of the brain's capacity, is so good at what it does in order and control and murder and theft and making up fake laws and worrying about little loopholes within these complex laws that they weave like spiders to ensnare us. They're very good at what they do, and they have ensnared everyone who lives and who participates in organized society. And that's not everyone, but that's most everyone is now under the clutches of these evil fucks who can't stand themselves and can't stand anyone else. George Costanza in Seinfeld, these Semites who are creating the show that they got all the goyim to watch and like, and every year the show got more and more sickening and vile, and the characters became more and more uncaring, unloving, selfish, and they were just vile, rotten pieces rotting in jail at the end of it. And that's how the series ended, because this is what the Semites, the fake Jews, are trying to tell us who we are. This is the reality. So there's a group of goodly people who live out of the right hemisphere of the brain. It's not a genetic race. It's a group of people who choose to live out of the right hemisphere of the brain, and they're called the Aryans. And isn't it interesting now that over the last year, all of this information that basically 150 years ago, the humanity was essentially guided, not ruled, but guided by a group of people known as the Tartarians, who built everything and wirelessly transmitted magnetic energy, eternal scalar magnetic energy across the vast plain for free. And were goodly, godly, righteous people. And they're the ones who built all of these massive, massive structures with archways that, would support a 20-foot human being walking through and all the rest of it. Isn't it interesting that they're called Tartarians, Aryans, Tartarians, Aryans? The Aryans are this group of enlightened people who coalesced in northern India. And because of the Himalaya mountains blocking them to the north and to the northeast, they went to the northwest, which led them initially into Persia and Babylon, which is Iran, Iraq. And that eventually led them to the Holy Land, which led them to the Mediterranean, which led them to Europe. So virtually all the bones of human civilization came from this enlightened group of higher-minded people and thinkers called the Tartarians, who shared their knowledge and wisdom for free. And we had this beautiful culture of creation where everyone shared in. And that is, these are people by choice, not birth, but choice, of goodly, godly, righteous people. They're Tartarians who are Aryans. And so this is what you're told in World War II in these fake history books. None of it is real. There's not a single history book that comes from organized society that is telling you the truth. It's complete lies. And, World War II only ended 74 years ago, and what we know about World War II would amount to the pinky nail on your pinky finger. It is so little. And that's only 74 years ago. And pretty much every family knows of someone within their family that was deeply, powerfully connected to World War II in one way or another, and yet we know virtually nothing about the truth about what really happened in World War II. And Hitler was busy trying to create this Aryan genetic race of superior supermen, and Dr. Joseph Mengele and all these concentration camps was operating upon all of their prisoners and doing No. I've done the research. I have done the research exhaustively, nonstop, to seek and search for the truth on all of this. Soon, Santos Bonacci, Josh X, and myself will be doing a landmark presentation podcast on the truth of Hitler's National Socialist Germany and what the Aryans are and what the Semites are, and you'll finally know the whole truth of what's been going on. But no, that's not what the Germans did. That isn't true. None of it is true. It's a lie. Hitler was building an Aryan race, and an Aryan race is not genetic. It is a choice. It is human beings that wish to live out of the right hemisphere of the brain. And very quickly, this is why you see all the things that can be easily proven, guaranteed to be true. I found all of the documentation that still exists showing all of these things, and you see that Nazi Germany, that is a name given to them by the fake Jews. It is a name given to them by the Canaanites or the Phoenicians, whom Hitler, kicked out of Germany when he took things back. So what did Hitler do within Germany? He got rid of Freemasonry, outlawed it, and all the Freemason temples were shut down. And then he created a shrine of a single Freemason temple so people could come in and learn about Freemasonry and what was going on inside of these temples. Secondly, he got rid of all of the foreign bankers. He got rid of their fake currency, got rid of all debt, created his own currency that was, gold-based, and instead of fake money, and outlawed usury. You cannot charge interest on principal. The moment you charge interest on principal, you create more than the principal. And there can't be more than the principal, because the principal is all the money that exists. So charging an interest that is born into existence the moment that you lend someone some of your principal money is literally impossible. You simply cannot do it, because you now have $1 or 1 cent more than previously existed, which can never be paid back. And the only way you can pay back interest is to borrow more money and to print more debt into existence. So you see, it's the game Monopoly, where the whole purpose is to force everybody except the bankers into bankruptcy. At the end of the game, there's only one person who wins, and ultimately it is the maker of the game that's teaching you how life really, really works. So in Hitler's Germany, they created their own currency. They forgave all debt. Then what Hitler did is he freed all of the farmers, took all of the restrictions off of them. He gifted the farmland to these families who had it and said that it could never be taken away from them. And he protected it as farmland because Germany needed to become self-sufficient, grow their own food, and not be dependent upon foreign markets. And he created free universal health care for all the citizens. But German healthcare was not based upon pharmaceuticals that treated symptoms or problems. No, German healthcare was healing the body and the mind. It was empowering people to be strong of the body and of the mind and to heal themselves. But whatever access to knowledge and information they needed, it was free. That's the truth. Hitler's in his National Socialist Germany is the first to create laws, creating laws and protection laws for animals, giving them rights, and that vivisection and these experiments on animals could not be done without permission at the very, very highest level of his government, and that any form of cruelty to animals was outlawed, and within the schooling system, animals were taught as to be considered to be friends of family, part of the family. And that's why Hitler loved all animals. Hitler was a vegetarian, and within their school system and within their healthcare system, he was teaching Germans to be vegetarians, if not vegans. And he gave the first powerful rights to German workers and mandated that German businesses, corporations, provide lunch breaks, extended lunch breaks, and other breaks during the day, and that there were recreational facilities at work, and during their breaks they could partake in a few laps of a swimming pool. There were change rooms, there were lockers where they could keep all of their materials. This is goodly, godly, righteous, higher-minded thinking, and this goes on and on and on and on. The mother, the woman, the feminine was exalted in German culture. The family was exalted in German culture. Women were encouraged to stay at home and raise their children. They were given money. They were paid money to not have jobs, and if they were going to raise families, to do it themselves, to homeschool. Homeschooling was a big thing with regard to Hitler's Germany as well. And all of this is easily verified. This is the truth of Hitler's Germany. Now, this person that respected all forms of life and exalted the sacred feminine, exalted families, gave power to the individual, gave knowledge to the individual. This is the person that tried to take over the world. Again, what do we know? Absolutely know about all of these skirmishes that existed between Hitler's Germany and Europe that led to Britain, Winston Churchill declaring war on Germany in 1939. These are all parts of Germany that were taken away from Germany by the ridiculous Treaty of Versailles at the end of World War I. Germany did not start World War I at all. And truth be told, at a certain point in 1917, it was clear that Germany had won World War I. This is, again, we're getting into complex stuff that cannot be delved into here. But what you know about World War I and World War II simply isn't the truth. And so they needed a fall guy. It was Germany for a whole slew of reasons, which I'll share in another podcast. And they were made out to be the bad guy. And this is why they then put the screws to Germany with inflation, all impossible, again, because you can't have interest, therefore you can't have inflation on your money. It's all fake. It's all forced to bring Germany to its knees so that you had a wild card in Europe so that you could have somebody you could blame World War II on, which is part of their plan. So, and again, part of that plan is to give to themselves a scapegoat for killing 6 million genetic species known as Jews and then give them the Holy Land. Again, there weren't 6 million Jews in Europe, let alone the world at that point. Jews are not a genetic race of beings. Again, this is a choice, right brain versus left brain. And all of this is a lie. All of this is a ploy by the Canaanites to steal everything of value away from us. So that's what FreakSense TV is all about. This is who Charlie Freak and Collywog are. It's who Santos Bonacci is. This is syncretism. This is all is a tomb. All connects back to the Creator, the one who created all things and created us in his own image, which is the magnetic electrical ether. We are magnetic electrical beings of light that have coalesced in a duality. So we exist here, coalesced in a slower, lower vibration of the physical material plane, but we also exist in spirit form via our souls, and that is within the metaphysical plane. And so the truth is holistic, and it connects the metaphysical plane, our spirit side, as equally, perfectly, beautifully as it does the physical reality and all the supposed laws that govern this physical reality. That's the truth. And what the world needs now is the truth. And love, sweet love, will come once we embrace the truth. So the truth is called the truth. Information is never called the truth. It's called information, or it's called the news, because it's a lie. And that's what they've been packaging us ever since they forcibly brought down this beautiful creation of the Tartarians, the Aryans, who built the bones of human civilization are these goodly, godly, righteous people, the Aryans or Tartarians, and it is this group that has claimed ownership of all of these things and basically have said that it magically got built somewhere between 1850 and 1880. So in a 20, 30-year period, all of these massive, massive structures that we still really couldn't do today without the kind of mnemonic devices that we have aiding modern construction now, simply couldn't do. We don't know how to do. They're the ones that build the pyramids, all of these fantastical structures. So we still don't know how to do today. They were advanced. We are children in comparison to this genius that came from people who are living in two worlds: the higher mind of the Father, the metaphysical spiritual realm, and the lower realm of the sacred feminine mother, that of Mother Earth, the mother and the father united as one. And all of this brings us to the general topic for the show today, which is the coronavirus and what is going on with this whole Q business and POTUS, President Trump, and his supposed connection to Q and the Great Reset. So what's going on right now? We really don't know much because the mainstream media this is not the truth. It's a privately owned institution created by the Canaanites, by the left brain, by the ego, and they tell you what they want to tell you, and they tell you in a way that they want to tell you to instill fear. So lies pushed and forced upon you through fear. And so that seems to fit with the coronavirus. Suddenly there's yet another virus, and maybe it came out of the Chinese people eating bats or something. You know, it's always some kind of human error because, you know, we're just random creations of evolution and we're stupid monkeys and all the rest of this nonsense. And they always blame it on us. It's always us, and we need to be ruled over because, you know, we're ignorant fools that need to be treated as slaves to protect ours. But it's for the greater good. It's for our own. It's for our own good. So yeah. So we really don't know what's going on with the coronavirus. But here's a little nugget for you. The coronavirus through organized society is never given to us as two words. It's always given to us as one word: coronavirus. And that tweaked me because that's not right. And that's not what they normally do. So it tweaked me to begin thinking that maybe it's an anagram. So you start fiddling around with the letters, and coronavirus makes a word, and the word is carnivorous, letter for letter, perfectly. And so the coronavirus is not real. It is another scare tactic. And don't worry, this is God's creation. God created us as uber strong beings. We don't need any vaccinations. Of course, they're not real anyways. What they're doing is trying to kill you. They're trying to destroy God's creation within you, the temple within you. They're not trying to help you. I think most of you know that. But so the coronavirus, called carnivorous, is trying to scare us into being distracted from what's really going on right now. And what's really going on right now, and this is real, and you can't deny this, this is the truth, is an enormous amount of arrests that have been going on. Now, this isn't you know, me saying this because I want Donald Trump to be a good guy and all the, you know, the white hats and all these other different groups and societies coming to save us are on their white horses and they're coming to save us. No. It's not about that. It's simply telling you that they don't have the power that we think they have or that they claim to have over us, because God's creation of the human being is so perfect, and the two temples of the body and mind are so powerful that we are temples of God. As long as we treat them as such, we can have goodly, godly, righteous powers within us, as long as we treat our bodies and our minds as temples, as temples of God. And so we are protected from any of these. There's nothing that they can create to ultimately to hurt us unless we give them permission to do so. And so to that end, it's a scare tactic. And what it's scaring us away from, as I alluded to just a few moments ago, is that there are enormous amounts of arrests. These are not fantasies, these are real, that are going on right now. And these arrests are wide sweeping. And right now, what these arrests are focusing on, and I think rightly so, is all of these child trafficking and pedophilia rings that are running rampant all over the place. And again, all you have to do is simply go online, and Trump's government is quite happy to show you and all of the proof of all of these warrants that have been handed out, and these arrests that have been made to these large groups of child traffickers and those that partake in pedophilia. And where is it all leading to, right? Where is it all leading to? It's all leading back to Hollywood, and it's all leading back to Washington, D.C., and the center of political and corporate power. So it's leading back to London as well. And what you're finding with these people that are being arrested is they've got copious amounts of relationships with the leaders, the biggest names, political leaders in all these various countries around the world, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of London, the President of France, and the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama has been giving out humanitarian awards to all these people who have now been arrested for being true scum of humanity, which is taking advantage of children in the worst possible ways, into sex slaves, pedophilia, child trafficking. These are the worst of the worst, the scum of the scum, and they all have ties to the biggest names, the Rothschilds, in the financial world, in the corporate world, and the political world. And so that's what's going on right now. And so if you're worried about where your next roll of toilet paper is coming from, and you might have to use your hands, then you're not so concerned about all of these arrests that are going on. So this is a timely distraction to take you away from what's really going on. And what Trump has been tweeting publicly, because he doesn't do a lot through the mainstream media. Gee, I wonder why. He's the only president that's called the mainstream media out for what it is, fake news. And it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's privately owned. How could it be anything but fake if it's privately owned? The first rule of any corporation, is to grow its wealth for its shareholders. That's it. So that means anything goes. And that means lying is at the forefront of who they are and what they do. So Trump is the only leader that has called the mainstream media out, and he's gone to social media platforms, and he's been handing his results, his take on things directly to the people, and bypassing the mainstream media. Wow. And again, this gets no play except Trump's a clown and an idiot, which I thought too. That's the only play you get on the mainstream. And why? Because all of these people in positions of power within the mainstream media are so complicit in pedophilia, are so complicit in child trafficking. You could not believe, if I began to divulge all of the names and the things that they are proven to be connected to and are doing. It would just blow you away. So they're never going to tell you the truth because they're the worst offenders of the horrors and the crimes against humanity and children that are going on in this world. You're never going to get it. You're never going to hear that newscast that tells you, like on the movie network, that we're lying to you. It's all a lie. They won't allow it to happen because they are as complicit as anybody else. So Trump is dealing directly with the people via social media, very unconventional, which is necessary in this upside-down world. Now, on October 28th of 2017 was the first example of coming into existence of this creation known as Q, who clearly is tied to the Trump government and to this movement that has now been given the title as QAnon. And October 28, 2017, October, although it means 8, is our, in our upside down world, is our 10th month. And 28th day, 2 plus 8 is 10. So October 10, 28, 10, 2017, 2017, 10, 10, 10, 10. 3 10s in a row, what you're going to find is everywhere. When you start looking at Q and how he's communicating with you, which is not just the few cryptic words that he chooses to share, that is predicting all the things that are happening often the next day. But he's speaking to you in an allegorical language, much like the Essenes and the Gnostics who wrote the Bible and who wrote all of these ancient spiritual texts were communicating with you on another level as well, on a symbolic level, on a numerological level as well. And this is our reality. The fact is that there's not a single millionaire that knows anything about astrology, but every single billionaire, they're experts in astrology because they don't do anything without first consulting the stars. And the reason being why astrology is so key, because it's us, it's you and I. What astrology teaches through the movement of the sun and the moon and their movements in relation to the 5 wandering stars or the 5 wandering planets or stars, and then the rest of the constellations in the sky, all of this is elegant design by the Creator beyond one's imagination. But all of what is happening in the sky is what's taking place inside of each one of us. And in other words, we are vulnerable because the ancient knowledge that's supposed to be taught to us from birth has been stolen by the Canaanites away from us. And we're not being taught any truth. And in fact, it's worse because we're being taught nothing but lies, which keep us further and further and further away from the truth. So the truth is written in the night sky. The truth is written in the Holy Land. The truth is written in these all ancient spiritual texts like the Bible, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. All of them are these, all of these ancient spiritual texts are all teaching you allegorically what is happening with human physiology, and in particular inside of you, and in particular inside of your brain, inside of your mind. So the places that we can't go and the places that we can't see and verify for ourselves are precisely what God left for us in the way that the Holy Land is shaped and looks and functions, the way that Mother Earth creates things like currents and winds and rain and thunderstorms and lightning, and all these things are all teaching us about the basic fundamental movements within this miraculous creation known as the human being and the human body, the temples of the human body and the mind, because we are magic beyond description. So that's what astrology is. the movement of the sun through, along with his 12 buddies, the 12 disciples, the 12 apostles, and his favorite apostle or disciple of all, the moon, Mary Magdalene, the moon goddess known as Sin, that rules over our five physical senses, our emotions, so that we exist in the left brain and we become left carnal-minded beasts of emotions instead of Spock in Star Trek, where we learn to control our emotions through the right brain. We're little demons running amok, ruled over by the powerful magnetic energy of the moon. So everything is an allegory about us, we humans, and everything, therefore, that is written for us is all symbolic. It's all symbolic words, it's all symbolic stories, it's all symbolic numbers. And this is what you're finding is so intriguing about Q, who Q really is, and Q's connection to Trump's government, because the numerology and the symbology of all of Q's messages on 4chan and 8chan, where he's able to be completely anonymous, is all godly, goodly, righteous. It's beautiful. And all of these people within organized society who have become the QAnon followers of the Q, they don't even consider themselves to be conspiracy theorists. My God, they live in a world where they realize they're into this, because they realize that, you know, Hillary Clinton is just a puppet for people behind the scenes, and that she's literally, and they have video of this, and it's going to come out. It's going to come out. They have video of her chief of staff. What is it? Huma Abedin, I believe, and Hillary Clinton ravaging a child to death, and all of this is going to come out. Everyone eventually is going to know the full depth and horrors of what's been going on, because we need to. If we're ever going to move forward, we need to know what we allowed to occur. Yeah, Huma, thank you, Vanessa, Huma Abedin. And these are monsters, and they're just put in place because they are left path carnal monsters. That's it. They possess no intelligence. They possess no abilities. They're just soulless, vacuous beings that sell their existence to the highest bidder, because they exist solely on the physical material plane. I wants me a big car, and I'll let you kill all the babies that you want to. That's who you elect. That's Bill and Hillary Clinton, a couple of idiots. A couple of carnal idiots. And there are people that write books on the New York Times best-selling list that Bill Clinton is one of the greatest presidents in American history. Wow. I could use a swear word right now, but Vanessa and Gary, I won't. But I could. I think you know what word I'd use. And this is what we're dealing with, is just this false veneer, this what I said, it's not an illusion, it's a delusion. And we've all become deluded because we have monsters portraying themselves as goodly, godly men. And what about the fake Christian church led by Roman Catholicism? These, they teach no truth about God. These monsters of the Catholic Church are that, and they're put into the church to have interactions with nuns and interactions with altar boys and congregations for that reason, because they're monsters. Just like the Clintons are given as options for political life because they're monsters, and they're going to do monstrous things to the public coffers and to anyone and anything that their fingers come over. So when you look at that Western Christianity, it has nothing to do with what Christianity is. Do you know who first discovered Christianity? Christianity is God. It's the one story. It's the story of the hero's journey. where you and I are the knight in shining armor. We have to rescue the damsel in distress from the dragon who lives beneath 7th Avenue, the 7 chakras, the base root, Muladhara, 7 red bottom, hellish chakra, and we have to slay the dragon and rescue the damsel in distress. The damsel in distress is the Virgin Mother Mary in pure white, who's now covered in shit because we've shoved her down below the sacrum into hell upon earth, which is the Muladhara. Now, where's the Muladhara located within human physiology? It's where our anus is, and it's where our reproductive organs are. That's why when you ask people today, you ask 1,000 people that are disenfranchised with their life, what will they tell you about themselves and about this world and about this life? They'll say that people are full of shit. And they'll say that, now I'm getting away with these swear words because this is other people talking, not me. And these are the actual words they're saying, and I can't find euphemisms for them. So sorry about that. But, and they'll say that their life is full of shit. They'll say that people are full of shit, and they'll say that my life is fucked. And that's why they continually use words that relate to our sexual organs. They continually use words that relate to us excreting waste out of our body, the anus, because that's where our soul is. That's where our consciousness has fallen. And that's where the essence of us, the Sacred Virgin Mother Mary, is within each of us. That's where she has fallen to, and we help keep her there. And she is the Kundalini magnetic serpent within us that is coiled up 3.5 times, and she needs to be released. She needs to rise up. And we do that by becoming righteous Aryan people. We do this by becoming Jews. Yeah, you know, like how the Bible describes a Jew, that Jew who is guaranteed the promised land, the land of milk and honey, milk produced by the pituitary gland, honey, which is produced by the pineal gland, and the milk and the honey are the 2 components that make up the chrism oil, which is gifted to us from Santa Claus, who exists where the colostrum is, in the back of our brain, the back of our skull. And there's a chimney where the colostrum is, and the chimney goes right into the very center of our brain, which is known as the 3rd room or the 3rd ventricle of the brain. And that's where the pineal up and to the right and the pituitary gland down and to the left exist. Mother and father, Joseph and Mary, electricity and magnetism, positive and negative, milk and honey. All of these dualities exist within us. Everything is an allegory for human physiology because we are the penultimate creation of God. We are his most perfect creation. This is all about our ride and journey now that we have fallen from the singularity of heaven to hell upon earth. And we have to get ourselves back through this hero's journey. And that's where Mary is. She is with the dragon down in hell, down in the root or Muladhara chakra, down in the base of our torso. And the dragon or the beast or the hydra, these are just allegories for the ego. The ego, the personality construct, who's not us, is not us at all. It's the masks that we wear so that we can function the way organized society wants us to function. Yeah. Go along to get along. Yeah. Just behave. It's school. It's good for you. Listen to your parents. They know best. Really? They took out a $300,000 mortgage on this place that we live that they can't possibly make the payments on. And they're wise, and I need to be listening to them? Come on. It's all a lie. So when you look at all of these tweets, and when you look at from the very beginning of whomever this Q is, that everything that he was writing is not just overt messages that you can read and understand about certain events that are going to happen, and they always do. He's never been wrong about anything. He's been right about everything, usually a day ahead of what's coming. Simply stuff that nobody else but the president and his innermost circle could possibly know. And he's been right about. but the symbology in what this Q is creating in the numbers and what he's referencing in his words, they're constantly relating to specific numbers. And I'm going to share some of these numbers with you. A big one for Q are the numbers 3, 6, and 9. And what did Tesla say? If you understand 3, 6, and 9, you understand the basis of all creation. 3, 6, and 9. 3, the Holy Trinity, the Mother, the Father, and the Child. 6, the journey of man, the hero's journey to rescue the mother from hell upon earth where the dragon exists, all the way up to the God room, which is inside of our minds. That chamber of the bridegroom, the third ventricle of our brain, the Kundalini rising within us. And we have to lead the sacred feminine Mother Mary up the aisle. The aisle, which has 33 stones or steps, is the spine. And we must lead the Kundalini, white, virgin, magnetic, pure Mother Mary up this aisle, and we have to put her hand into the hand of our one true Father, and together they join hands and have what is called or known as the alchemical wedding, the alchemical marriage. And this is what myself and Josh X have coined the bride and groom. So it's the B ride to the G room. B, the letters B, the second letter of the alphabet, is the second creation. God is A, is Alpha. God is all. God is Atum. All is Atum. Allah, from the Islamic faith, is of course God, because Allah simply means all. And A is one. It's the first letter. It came first. God is first. God existed, had awareness, became aware that he existed, and all creation exists from the A. The first thing to be able to have creation, and to have this entire creation known as Earth, the Garden of Eden, heaven above and hell below, this polarity of all of our dualities is all because the second creation is the second letter, which is B, which is for the sacred feminine. B, the belly that becomes impregnated immaculately, and the breast of the woman. And you see the two protuberances to the right of the straight line creating a B. And if you take the B from being upright and you lay her on her back, then you see more clearly the breast and the belly. And then you see the letter M. M for mother. M for Mary. M for magnetism. Yeah, you see, everything that God created, everything that we hold as part of our culture is all based upon this magic of God's creation. A, the Father, B, the sacred feminine, the mother, and C, the child, or the chalice, or the cup of Christ. And where does the C, if you look at the C, it's open. So your eye must be open if you're going to be connected to God. If you're going to reunite the Father and the Mother, then your eye must be open. And where is the eye of the letter C open? It looks to the right, to the rising sun. The rising sun of Aries. Aries, arise, a man rising. A man rising in the east is the sun rising in the east every single morning. And the beauty of the letter C is that it is the child, but also the cup that we must learn through, that is supposed to be open and looking virtuously to the right, not to the left, to the right. Right is Abel. Right is Jacob. Right is the son of Jacob, of the 12 sons of Jacob. It was Judah who set up his tribe to the east, and he became known as the Lion King. And this is what we must become. The lamb must become the lion. We must become strong within learning God's truths so that we transmutate ourselves from the weak following sheep to the strong lion. The lamb becoming the roaring lion in the east, exalting God's creation. So the letter C tells you everything. The letter B tells you everything. The letter A tells you everything. And that's the book that I'm writing right now, which is the hieroglyphics of the English language from the journey from A to Z. It's a story. Every single letter is part of this incredible single story that I've been sharing with you. The same story that Q, whoever Q is, continues to reference in all of his tweets and posts on 4chan and 8chan. He continues to tell this one story, and the sacred numerology that is using 3, 6, 9, 5 for crucifixion. 8 is constantly coming up, which is the double sine wave or the double Ouroboros, which is the eternal 8, no beginning, no end, eternity going on forever. And the number 10, A10, is Adam, which is Atom, which is Atum, which is man. All of us, we are all connected to the Father. All of this ties in. All of these sacred numbers all tie in, and the Q is a very powerful number, and we're going to get into that very shortly here. So this is why I'm intrigued and very excited about what's going on with the coronavirus and the fact that it's an anagram for carnivorous, and that that Q is connected to this, and that Q's message, or just released a message a couple of days ago and before, was to remain calm, that there is a goodly, godly, righteous plan, and to remain calm. And it's very interesting. In his last message that was just 2 days ago, released on 8chan, on the first day of the new year, March 21st, it was a simple message: do not fear. And then there was a link on his little tweet, or his little post there, and it took the viewer to a YouTube site, a YouTube channel called the Future World Music, and a song called Victory of Life. And the song, which is kind of sort of an electronic-based track called Victory of Life. And there's a static image that the creators of the video used. And what it showed was a man facing east, looking to the sun rising in the sky with a pair of angelic wings on both sides, born of fire. So there's the crucifixion, the baptism of water, and then there's the baptism of fire. One will come later, and he will give you the higher truth, and that is the baptism of fire. So we see a human sprouting wings that can fly, arising into God and God's creation, the sun, with wings of fire. So the baptism of fire. This is all massively, massively, massively symbolic. And in this video, it just happens to say that the title of the song, Victory Life, and then it says in brackets, volume 11, so there's a number 11, preview early 2011, and it was released in January of 2011. 11, 11, 11. Now, if you know anything about sacred numerology, about God's numbers, 11 is the master number. And 11 plus 11 is 22, which is an extension of the master number. And then 11 plus 11 plus 11 is 33. 33 vertebrae of the spine, 33 steps in the altar where Mary must rise, the Kundalini must rise with the aid of the hero up to the G room, the God room, in the third ventricle of the brain to reunite the sacred, pure white Virgin Mother Mary with our Father, our one true Father, and that this is the journey. So in 11, essentially, you have God. In 22, you have the mother. And in 33, you have the child, the creation. So in 11, 22, and 33, 3 11s, you have the Holy Trinity. And once again, with Q and his posts, you constantly see the Holy Trinity. You constantly see the reference to the Holy Trinity. And I'm going to get into another aspect of this that probably will blow your mind away in just a little sec. So we'll come back into this. So symbolic. Why, if the message of Q, which is do not fear, why, and if this is like a group of Trump's military advisors, why would they give you a link to go to some electronic music called The Victory of Life? Again, Victory of Life is very important. We're going to get into this symbology in just a second, what it actually means and what letter it's tied to. And then 11, 11, 11, and then the static image for the video is a man growing wings of fire, facing to the right, facing the rising sun in the east, and his wings of fire allowing him to soar up into heaven at the right-hand side of God. I mean, so what I'm sharing with you is that everything you get through Trump, through his tweets, and through Q, who clearly has a powerful personal relationship with the president, you cannot deny it, that these are all symbolically and numerologically are all beautiful, goodly, godly messages. And they're all telling you high truths. And they're all giving you these powerful messages. Even if the average person can't fully understand them at this point, they're there. They exist. They're there for you as you continue to grow and to learn. They're there for you to go back and to learn from. And Collywog and I have been going through a lot of these Q posts and tweets and stuff on 4chan and 8chan, and it's just staggering. The symbology within these posts is staggering because it's beautiful, and it's telling you that they are taking back, through a revolution of the mind and through a righteousness connected with God, they are taking back what is right in this world, and they're getting rid of what's wrong in this world. And again, the basis for Collywog and I putting our good names within the truth community out there supporting somebody like the crazy orange-haired clown Donald Trump is because we've done the work, we've done the research, because we've looked at what Trump has actually done, not what maybe somebody wants to say he's done, but what's actually been done. We've looked at and listened to his press conferences. We looked at his tweets and his messages. We've compared them with all of the messages from Q, and the symbology and all of these things is constant, and it is beautiful, and it is righteous, it is goodly, and it is godly. And that's what we want really today to share with you, is that what's going on is very complex, and I couldn't possibly begin to tell you all the reasons why for what's going on. But let's just say for sure that there are two hands in what's going on, and there are goodly, godly, righteous hands, and there are evil, demonic, fallen hands that are on this coronavirus. So the coronavirus, an anagram for the word carnivorous. Now, what is a carnivore? First, everybody immediately relates it to the fact that a carnivore is somebody who sustains themselves by killing, by taking life and then eating the dead, rotting flesh of what it is that they've killed. And within God's creation, there are carnivores. We see them on the plains of the Kalahari, for example. So it does exist within nature. It does not exist, and it's not supposed to exist within humanity and mankind. It does, because we have allowed ourselves to be ruled over by those who have no love in their life and therefore have no wisdom. They have no soul. They have no godliness within them. They have no goodliness or righteousness within them, because they live exclusively through the left hemisphere of the brain. These are the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, the Illuminati, who have now hijacked the Freemasons. The Freemasonry is just a vehicle. It's like a privatized army. They don't reveal secrets, and like a good soldier, doesn't look behind, just keeps looking forward. They're easy to manipulate. They're easy to control, and that's why they hijacked Freemasonry. Doesn't mean that Freemasonry in its beginning was evil in any way. They certainly are a group of people that are collecting higher truths, and they certainly were in no great hurry to share them with others. But there's two sides to that story, which we can get into in future podcasts as well. So there is this duality to the coronavirus, and its dual nature is carnivorous. And what it's telling you, if the coronavirus or viruses are not real, and then what it's telling you is that what's wrong and what the real virus is that humanity has allowed themselves to become carnivores. And carnivores take no matter what, regardless of the consequences. Folks, again, that's the left brain. So those people who have named this the carnivorous virus are telling you the highest truth in plain sight, that what is wrong with us and what is wrong with organized society, and therefore the only way that we can fix all of this insanity is to not be carnivores anymore, because it is complete insanity. Now, this takes us into food. And if any of you know that Collywog and I are both vegans, and which we simply refer to as the Garden of Eden diet. It's alkalinity. And we must be alkaline. Alkalinity is life, and acidity is death. And all you have to do to prove that, so simple, just look at litmus paper. Grab a stack of litmus paper, a little pad of litmus paper, and you can apply it to anything and everything within your home, especially your food and beverages, and it will show you. And when something is alkaline, let's say we'll focus on food. So when food is alkaline, if you apply alkalinity, an alkaline substance, to litmus paper, guess what it does? It illuminates the middle, which is green. And if it's very alkaline, it will rise up. It goes up, and it reveals a bluish color. And if it rises all the way past 10 up to the top of the scale, which is 14, 2 sevens, very symbolic, a bottom 7 and a higher 7 with homeostasis, balance in the middle at 7. Boy, there's so much to talk about. We don't have time today, but so when something is very alkaline, it becomes purple. And again, these are the exact colors of the chakras. As we rise, the Virgin Mother Mary, the Kundalini magnetic energy within us, and uncoil her 3.5 times within us, we rise up our chakras. And as we get up through the solar plexus chakra into the heart chakra is green in the middle, in the center. The throat chakra begins to change color from green as it becomes more blue. As you get to the third eye chakra, the ajna, the third eye, which is the third ventricle of the brain, where the pineal gland, the pituitary gland are, where Santa Claus is in the colostrum, where the chimney, where he sends his chrism oil present down the chimney to the tree of life. Which is, the milk of Mary and the honey of Joseph, the milk and honey, which is the anointed sacred oil, which is the true Christ. This is what Christ is not a man who walked around the Holy Land 2,000 years ago. It is an anointed oil, the milk and honey, that is released within us by Santa Claus at the North Pole, the magnetic north within us, at the center of the flat earth, which is in our head. 13 times a year. We have 13 moons every single year. That's another podcast. And secreted within us from the age of 12 onwards in our bodies 13 times a year is the chrism oil, which is chrism, which is Christ, which is this literalized figure now known as Jesus Christ, the goodly, godly, alkaline existence. So this is alkalinity rising. So it becomes fully blue at the sixth chakra, the sixth in-body chakra, which is the last of the in-body chakras, the third eye chakra. And then it becomes purple at the crown. On the crown of our head, just above the crown of our head, is our seventh chakra, which is a purple chakra. And this crown chakra, when it is activated by opening our third eye and activating the pineal gland, then it begins to shower us with purple rain. That's what Prince was singing about in his song, Purple Rain. Nothing else. It's not evil. It's beautiful. It's talking about the raising of the chrism oil. It's talking about becoming Christ-like. It's talking about becoming ultimately an eternal being, not a physical fool who dies after 50 or 60 years from a massive coronary. So this is what you're seeing with litmus paper. And so goodliness, godliness rises, arising, Aries arising, the morning sun rises, and alkalinity rises. I'm not making this up. It does. It rises from green, which is the earth, to blue, which is the sky, to purple, which is the crown of God, which is the crown that Jesus Christ wears upon his head. Now, when you apply something that is acidic to litmus paper, it goes down. I'm not making this up. That's what happens. And what are the colors from the middle green earth as it goes down? It begins to change in color, and it becomes more violet, and then it just becomes pure red. And red is symbology of blood, and blood is symbology of hell upon earth. It's hell. And the only substances that will go down on the litmus paper are acid. And like I challenge our listeners on FreakSense TV all the time to do, is just grab from a local chemist or a university or even a school, just ask if you can purchase a small amount of hydrochloric acid, and then just do some experiments around your house and drop some hydrochloric acid on all sorts of substances, okay? And watch what happens. And that tells you everything you need to know. Acid destroys. Acid kills. Why is it that all of the commercials, besides pills because you can't get an erection, are all about antacid substances? My stomach is an acid factory. Yeah, because meat, dairy, and eggs are the most horrific acidic substances known on this precious earth. And to have the displeasure of eating them, you have to kill a living sentient being, someone who gives birth to a child, someone that has a relationship with a male figure. So you have a sacred masculine, you have a sacred feminine, you have a sacred child. And we, because we humans are the most powerful species on the earth, we have the right to take what we want. We have the right to murder what we want in the name of goodliness, in the name of protein, in the name of being healthy. Oh, yeah? Yeah? We are the unhealthiest the human race has ever been. We are the most disgusting looking the human race has ever looked. We are overweight. Obesity is rampant. We have every disease that is all borne out by acidity, by the way, going on within us. And the horrors are so bad that most people now are literally dying from things like dementia and Alzheimer's disease because they have no sacred fluids, sacred secretions going on through the endocrine system anymore, because meat, dairy, and egg and the toxic sludge that they create has closed off all of the synapses for the blood to flow into the brain. And the brain is literally starving of nutrients, and it's starving of oxygen, and it's cramping. And under those circumstances, you can't remember a thing. And doctors are not going to tell you. Most of them don't even know this because they're complete idiots. I'm sorry I have to be the one to tell you that. But 7 years of university to learn the human body, and they can barely remember sort of the X's and O's. They don't know anything. They spend all of about 3 hours of time on the diet, and then what they're taught about the diet are complete lies. So the average doctor simply doesn't know anything about real health. If you want to get healthy, stay away from a doctor. You want to become intelligent, stay away from a school. You want to become spiritually enlightened, stay away from a church. Yeah. You want to become rich and wealthy, stay away from anything that is economic based, anything relating to an economy. Everything that they do is the opposite of what the truth is, and that goes for absolutely everything. So this is our reality, and you see that when we go up, it's alkaline, which is goodly is godly, and the colors of litmus paper match the colors of the rainbow, match the colors of the musical scale, match the colors of the chakras, and you see that there's this symbiotic relationship. All is one, all is attuned, all is connected to one another, and that to be righteous, to be healthy of the body and the mind is to go up, and to go up is alkalinity, is positive thought, is serving God's creation. It's not taking, it's giving. And when you give, the rewards are built in. Not that you're doing it for rewards, but they happen automatically. When you give, the rewards are built into your work. When you take, the rewards are built into your work. They're just horrific rewards. You get your just desserts from take. And this notion, people, of killing an animal and taking its beautiful, precious, sentient life to then consume its acidic, dead, rotting flesh. Where do you get life and health from dead, rotting tissue? And animal tissue is not meat. Nope, and it cannot be digested. That's why when these various people get things like colonoscopies and things done and surgeries done relating to the colon, doctors are finding vast amounts of worms, by the way, but they're finding unprocessed chunks and pieces of meat that they're guesstimating are decades old within the system, because animal tissue is not food, it is not meat, and it cannot be broken down by the human body. When you do your own research and you discover what we are, we're not carnivores of the carnivorous coronavirus. We're frugivores, 100%. This isn't me giving you an opinion. Every single aspect of a frugivore, so the monkeys and the chimpanzees and all of these biggest, strongest creatures on Earth are virtually all either herbivores, or they are frugivores. Herbivores are frugivores, and they're virtually all of the biggest, strongest creations on Earth, and they're all herbivores or frugivores. When you match up what a frugivore is, it matches up to the human body, both inside and out, 100%. We are frugivores. We are meant to be eating a raw diet. And that's why all these people who try to become vegan and fail because they're eating cooked foods. They're eating fake processed foods like a Bill Gates vegan burger that has no life in it whatsoever. And then they're wondering why their vegan diet isn't working. Because a vegan diet is raw. Because alkalinity is raw fruits and vegetables. There you go. That's life, because it's living. Living plants, living foods give life. Dead tissue, rotting tissue gives death. Why do you think we look so ugly? Why are we obese? Why are we dying from the most gruesome, horrific diseases? And they're scaring us with the coronavirus and the fear that it creates, because, oh goodness, what's coming next? because we're a mess, and we're a mess because we eat death. If you eat death, then you're a fallen man, and you live down in your bottom red root Muladhara chakra, and you need to rise up. And that's what this Q person is all about. Now, we got 5 minutes left in the show today. And what I'm going to leave you with is what Kaliwag and I believe is the identity of Q, and why there's this close relationship with President Trump. In 1999, on July 16th, 1 + 6 = 7, a horrific thing occurred, and that was the private plane of John Kennedy Jr. crashed out of the sky, ostensibly killing John Kennedy Jr., his wife Caroline, and her sister, all within the sight of his mother Jackie Kennedy's home in Martha's Vineyard. And it was for any of us who had hope in our hearts and righteousness in our hearts, and a hope that John Kennedy Jr. would fulfill the dream that his father, Jack Kennedy, and his uncle, Robert Kennedy, and his other uncle, Edward Kennedy, wanted, the holy trinity of white knight, white-hatted, virtuous, righteous, goodly, godly men who were leading humanity towards eternal lasting peace, brotherhood with all other nations on earth, starting with the evil Soviet Empire. We all hoped that John Kennedy Jr., who was brilliant and enlightened, his magazine, George, was brilliant beyond description, and it's just loaded. We'll do this in the future podcast to bring some examples of all the numerology and symbology within those articles, foreshadowing everything that's to come, foreshadowing his resurrection. Well, it is our gnosis, and Colleen and I have meditated on this deeply and have had a connection with our higher mind, which is our godly mind, which is a connection with God, that is giving us this gnosis that indeed John Kennedy Jr. is alive, and that his death was faked, and that he is none other than Q, and that this coronavirus is the beginning of the end for what is wrong with the demons that are now in control and running amok on our beautiful, precious, flat earth. The coronavirus is symbolizing in the anagram carnivorous, where we take with never a thought of give. So we cannot receive the goodly, godly gifts from God. We're only creating our reality by being moon stars, monstars that just constantly take and take and take. And we have become the demons running amok on this precious earth. So this white hat, white, pure energy that was symbolized through in John F. Kennedy Jr. announcing just before he was killed that he was planning on running for the New York State Senate against none other than Hillary Clinton, white hat versus black hat, that he faked his death with great help from the system, one of his dearest, greatest friends. And if you look at the articles written in George magazine about Donald Trump, show you their friendship. And it was actually John Kennedy Jr. that wrote an article himself in George magazine touting that Donald Trump would make the most amazing, righteous, virtuous president if he ever turned from an investment life into a political life. And so they have always been very, very, very close. And that is our assumption. And that's what we want to leave you with today, that do not fear. And if you're just getting to know us, and so it's difficult when you don't know the body of our work, but Colleen and I have done the research, we've done the work, and in these tweets and texts from Trump, in all of these messages from Q, who we are telling you is actually John F. Kennedy Jr., who will be resurrected this year in 2020. Perfect vision to create and give us back perfect vision in the year 2020 is goodly, godly, is righteous. So while there are dirty hands on this coronavirus and there is a massive scare aspect to the coronavirus, do not fear. Do not fear. Do your work. Continue to grow personally. Do your research on alkalinity. Do your research on the horror of meat, dairy, and eggs as a food, and begin to turn yourself, my friends, to the light, to the way, the beautiful middle way that the Buddha talked about, which is homeostasis, which is balance, which is combining the higher mind of the spiritual father and the physicality of our beautiful Mother Earth. And when you bring those two worlds into one, you become the eternal pine tree, evergreen, reaching up to heaven with eternal gnosis, connecting with God, being downloaded the truth in all moments in perfect balance and harmony with God. And that's our first show with you on People for People Radio, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to close quickly today, for those of you who don't know, that Collywog and I run, and we have done so for the past 8 years now, here in Mexico. We live in a very rural, beautiful countryside, green countryside in Mexico here. And we rescue injured and unwanted animals, and there are a lot here in Mexico. And we have 45 beautiful, beautiful creatures that are our family that live with us. And the costs of running this shelter are enormous. And Collywog and I don't have any jobs. We don't have any debt. We produce most of all of our food and just everything for ourselves. We're being as self-sufficient as we can, and we'll eventually get to be purely self-sufficient. And any monies that we have through the sale of our books, we apply to the Rescue Sanctuary, but it's now grown to a point where it's beyond what we're able to support on our own. And for the last 8 months, we've reached out and received assistance, and we have a total right now of 27 patrons on Patreon that are helping us with this. And if you can see fit to do so by visiting our YouTube channel, or seeing us, Charlie Freak 16 on Facebook, you will see all the details in a way that you can become part of this miraculous salvation for these beautiful animals. So with that, big hugs and thanks to Gary and Vanessa and everyone at People for People Radio. I hope you enjoyed this first show. What's coming is going to really blow you away. It is the highest possible truth, and we are so excited to share it with you and so excited to be part of this wonderful station.